Breaking news. Brooklyn Nets trade James Harden to Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and many more. This has been reported by Tim Burtums from ESPN News. Coming out of Philly, the Brooklyn Nets and Philadelphia 76ers agreed to a blockbuster trade just hours before Thursday's trade deadline, with James Harden and Paul Millsap going to Philadelphia and Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round draft picks going to Brooklyn. Sources tell ESPN's Andre Woj. Basically, the Brooklyn Nets have made a trade, and they've traded James Harden and Paul Millsap away to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond. Now, I got the opportunity to see Seth Curry play in person, Andre Drummond play in person. This is a hard trade. James Harden leaving New York because he couldn't handle the New York market. Ben Simmons, who wanted out because, honestly, Doc Rivers made a huge mistake. The mistake, honestly, was you don't criticize a player about his play, his offensive play, after such an emotional loss like that, especially coming off a Game 7. And that was wrong of Doc Rivers to do. And because of that, it created this whole situation. Joel Embiid didn't make situations better when he made comments saying that, criticizing his teammate after that emotional Game 7 loss. Let's be honest. Against the Toronto Raptors back in 2019, Joel Embiid didn't play that well and they lost, but you didn't hear Ben Simmons criticizing Joel Embiid that bad in the media after that loss. They said they just regrouped and said let's run it back again. Honestly, it was bad on all sides. Anyway, back to the article. Brooklyn will receive Philadelphia's unprotected 2022 first-round pick, with the right to defer it to 2023, as well as a top 8 protected 2027 first-round pick, according to Woj. That pick would remain top 8 protected in 2028 and will turn into 1 second and $2 million in cash if it doesn't convey in either season, sources say. Basically, draft picks are floating around, protected draft picks are floating around to make sure that if this doesn't work out, they could dip back into the draft and select a player out of college that's probably going to turn one of their franchises around. But let's see what happens in the future. The deal allows both teams to move on from unhappy superstars who had been seeking trades. James Harden wanted a trade, Ben Simmons wanted a trade, but players' lives in between got affected. Seth Curry, who put roots in Philly, now is being uprooted. Andre Drummond is being uprooted. They're coming to Brooklyn. Brooklyn will welcome them with open arms. James Harden, I saw him in person play, and he thinks he's going to do better in Philly. Let's see what happens. For Philadelphia, it means the end of what has been a months-long saga. The Sixers lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs last year. After that loss to the surprising Atlanta Hawks, things went spirally out of control. Ben Simmons wanted out, and let's be honest, there was no really repairing that after comments were publicly made against Ben Simmons by his co-superstar teammate and his coach. Honestly, it just wasn't. There was no sense of repair, and the Philly fans are so brutal and disrespectful. So honestly, there was no sense of Ben Simmons ever playing back in Philly again. Outside of a brief cameo at practice in mid-October in the middle of training camp, Simmons hasn't been around the team since and didn't play in a single game this season. Sources told ESPN Ramona Shelburne that Simmons will continue to work with his therapist to get mentally ready to play in Brooklyn. I believe Ben Simmons will be welcomed with open arms in Brooklyn. If you play hard, you play defense, you move the ball, you find the easy shots, Brooklyn will love you. Brooklyn, New York will idolize you. You will be in the pages. You will be that guy. And any transgressions you did in the past will be forgiven. That's how the New York market goes if you do very well. It's a work in progress, one source close to Simmons told Shelburne, who added Simmons has already spoken to Nets star Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is going to be teaming up with Ben Simmons, and I think it's going to be an explosive dynamic between the two. I think they're going to feed off very well because KD's unselfish. KD busts his behind just to get his teammates open. Ben Simmons, who's going to score, who's going to play lockdown defense. Brooklyn is going to improve defensively after this trade. The relationship between Harden and the Nets, meanwhile, broke down in recent days, with sources telling Woj that Harden had declined to formally ask for a trade due to fearing the backlash of doing so for the second time in a little more than a year. He knew he was doing it in New York, and he couldn't make it in New York. Honestly, James Harden is just not that good of a player. He's just a regular all-star player. He's not a superstar to me. And honestly, let's see what he does in Philly, but I know Ben Simmons, he's going to do very well in New York because he wants that challenge. New York is a big market. Once you prove yourself in New York, you get over everywhere else. That's it. We gave up Jared Allen and Karis LeVert and multiple first-round picks just for James Harden, and now he forced his way out again, hurting the Brooklyn Nets. I'm for it for superstars having freedom, to have to control their own destiny, but when it affects other players' lives and the organization's futures along the way, I have a problem with that. And James Harden, I don't know. I don't buy the act that he's gonna be okay with Joel teaming up with Joel Embiid. Who knows? 2 years down the line, he may ask for another trade again, and Philly just gave up players and stuff like that to accommodate him. I just don't get it. But it is what it is. Things happen in life. You just gotta go with the punches. Jared Allen and Karis LeVert are succeeding right now in Cleveland right now. They're succeeding. They're doing very well, and let's see what happens. They're top 3 in the Eastern Conference. They're trying to make a push for the playoffs, deep run into the playoffs to see how far they go. The 76ers canceled practice Thursday afternoon with Coach Doc Rivers saying it was the human thing to do, given all the noise that had surrounded his team over the past several months. It was strange, Rivers said. I canceled practice. There's just so much stuff that's going on, so many rumors. I just thought the human thing to do instead of the coaching thing was just to be very straightforward with our guys and tell them I get it, everybody's names and all this stuff. Doc Rivers is telling his team that fought, throughout the last couple of months, producing a winning record for the 76ers, to say, you know what, cancel practice. Let's just regroup. Let's get our minds together. Players are going to be out. I understand that. He's telling his players, we're gonna steer the ship forward and see what happens. So that's Doc Rivers being a good coach, in a sense. He says, so we'll do a shoot around tomorrow with our team, guaranteed. That team will now include Harden and Millsap, but will not include Simmons or Curry, who also happens to be Rivers' son-in-law. Curry is averaging 15 points and 4 assists per game, while shooting 40% from the three-point range, and has developed strong chemistry with Philadelphia superstar center Joel Embiid. John will also give Brooklyn some additional size inside, something the Nets have lacked on their roster this season. But that wasn't enough to prevent a deal from taking place, while also allowing the 76ers to retain their 2 premium young players, guard Travis Maxey and third-year forward Masi Talborn. Brooklyn sources tell Woj continues to be engaged on deals ahead of the deadline as they continue to reshape its roster. Philadelphia, meanwhile, can finally move forward with the Simmons situation behind them, and with the Harden reunited with the 76ers of basketball president Daryl Morey, who traded for him in Houston. The Nets remain in consensus favorites to win the NBA title after Thursday's trade. Caesars Sportsbook kept the Nets at 4-1 to win the championship, while shortening the 76ers from 12-1 to 7-1. Other odd makers, however, dropped Brooklyn back in their NBA title odds. The Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas moved the Nets from 6-1 to 10-1 on Thursday. The Superbook has the Golden State Warriors and Phoenix Suns as co-favorites to win the title, each at 9-2. The 76ers and Milwaukee Bucks are next, each at 6-1. The Nets are the favorites at the majority of the sports books. The 76ers sit 1.5 games out of first place in the Eastern Conference, and Rivers said that that was a credit to his players for how they handled everything that's gone on. They were great. They all were great. We did watch a little bit of that film. We had a lot of laughs together. Doc Rivers has accepted the fact that Ben Simmons is now gone. He's in Brooklyn. James Harden is coming to Philadelphia because he couldn't make it in New York. Kevin Durant got a new partner. I don't know what they do with the Kyrie Irving situation, but all I can tell you is this: the Brooklyn Nets have retooled their roster, and we're gonna see what happens. It's not a easy task at hand, but we'll see what happens. New Brooklyn Nets coming to the Barclays near you. Peace. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. One. Please subscribe to BKJ Mac TV for more sports coverage. Peace.